This is a debt management and budgeting software called Wealthway, and it's exclusively inside of my community, Dollar Discipline University. And what I want to do in this video is just kind of quickly go over what's inside of it to kind of show you guys to see if you're interested at all. And how I'm going to start is with the debts, because to be quite honest with you, this is the thing that I spent the most time on and I'm the most proud of, and I haven't seen anything else kind of like this. So I've entered information in here already so that we don't have to kind of go through me, you watching me type stuff, right? So here's how it's going to work. You're going to be seeing a blank page here, debt list. You simply just click add debt, okay? And you would fill out, okay, what do I want to call this? You can call it credit card, you can call it Amex, you can call it student loan, you can call it whatever, like the company, the type, whatever you want to do. Current balance as of right now, the interest rate as of right now, the minimum payment that the minimum payment that's on it, and the current monthly payment that you're making on it. So after you do that, we'll have we have these three here. And then if you're like, oh shoot, I made a mistake, you can simply click on these blue edits, and it's going to bring you back to the screen where you entered all the information, okay? Or you're like, oh, you know what? I don't need to add this one. You can click that garbage can and click delete. I'm not going to do that for this exercise. But now that we've entered all of our debts, you can see here it's kind of summing up. So our starting debt amount, $65,000. Ending debt amount, this is the first month that I'd be doing this, so we don't have an ending debt amount yet. Our minimum payments is totaling $950, and I set it up so that our current monthly payment is also $950. If I were to change any of these, let's make this like 45, right? This is going to change. And if I were to, and this little bubble pops up here, and it helps saying like, hey, based on the information that you've entered here, the minimum payment is probably higher, and it's $825. So it just gives you a little, it does help you in case you like do a little, fat fingering of entering the data or anything like that. Let's jump into the next section, because this is the coolest part, the payment calculator. This is going to be your testing ground, your playground to really see, okay, the first page is like, this is what I've been doing, right? But what happens if I like put a little extra money on my debt? What happens if I find that extra $100, the extra $200, the extra $500 a month? What do I do? What's that going to look like for me? So we're going to be playing with this part in a second. This is the payment calculator. We have a debt payoff strategy section. Just in case maybe you're new to this or need a good refresher here, it's just a quick little note saying that, hey, for the debt avalanche method, this calculator is going to be putting the extra money towards the highest interest rate, and that'll save you the most money. And the snowball method, it's going to put the extra money towards the smallest balance first, because that'll build, momentum and motivation, and you'll start knocking them out, right? And then there's a custom section, which we'll get into in a moment. And now down here, what we're going to see is we can click back between Snowball and Avalanche, and it's going to change below. You can see like some of the information is changing, and that's because it's ordering the level of debt. So for the Avalanche, it's ranking it from the highest interest rate to lowest interest rate, because that's how we'd pay it off. And for the Snowball, it's ranking it from lowest balance to largest balance, because that's how we would pay that off. So you'll see the stuff that we entered here, the name, the balance, the interest rate, the monthly payment. And now you're going to see these other two sections here, total interest and your debt-free date. If anything at all in this video, if you don't, decide to use Wealthway, figure out your debt-free date if you have debt, okay? Just figure it out. It's going to be very helpful for you to understand what you've been doing and where that's going to take you, and then how do you plug in a little extra money to see if you can pay it down faster? How do we find that extra money? That's what this community is all about. So you can see here that of the $65,000 of this fake debt that I've created, right? Our total interest is around, we'll call it $68,000, and our debt-free date is January 2036. So that's about 11 years from me recording this video right now. So if we're serious about paying off our debt, 11 years is a very long time. So you're like, well, how do I pay it off faster? That's where we try and figure out this payment calculator thing. Like, how can we, what happens if I add the extra $100? So what's cool with this is as I'm typing this, you'll see that this number is changing, and this is the total current payment, which is basically our minimum payment right now. So if I add $1, it's like, okay, you added $1, $10, and $100, right? So you can see all that changing. Now you'll notice we have this very cool strategy comparison that just kind of popped up. So once you add anything into this calculator, you're going to get even more details. Okay, so this is a very summarized version of what's happening behind the scenes. So for each snowball and avalanche, it's going to show you how much total interest you'd be paying based on the plan, how long it's going to take you, and your debt-free date based on each of the plans, and the total amount paid on each of the plans. Now, a quick side note here, guys, and I did this as well. So just be just like, this is not me like pointing any fingers or anything like that, but let's say you have $65,000 of debt and you're walking around saying like, oh man, I have $65,000 of debt. You actually have, $120,000 in debt because we're neglecting the interest. It's a big sort of elephant in the room that everyone forgets about, right? The interest. So yeah, in this example, there's $54,000 of interest, still, even after adding the extra $100, right? So anyway, that's kind of the summary part here. And what's really cool is each benefit, each strategy, the snowball or the avalanche, they have their own advantage, right? So the avalanche is going to be the one that saves you the money. The snowball is going to be one that gets you those quick wins, the momentum. So down here, it's going to outline what the win is for each of them. So it's going to say, hey, if you choose the avalanche method, you're going to save $11,000 on interest compared to the snowball. And the snowball is like, yeah, but hey, you're going to pay off your first debt 25 months faster than if you were to use the avalanche. So it's like both of those are pretty enticing. So this is just a way to like give you options and like, which one do I want to do? Both of these are great, by the way. And as you add money, it's going to show you where that extra money is going, just for like some context. Where is it going first? And we kind of already know that because this is the first line item, and etc. So now we can see, just to kind of go back into like teaching mode here a little bit, the total interest, you'll see that changed significantly. So it was like $68,000. We add an extra $100, and what is that? We'll call that 45. I don't know. We'll call it $45,000. So we saved $23,000 of interest by adding an extra $100 a month. And the debt-free date was in 2036. It's now 2030. So we saved 6 years. We saved $23,000 just by finding an extra $100 in our finances. So again, this is everything that I teach, share, whatever inside the community. How do we find that hidden cash flow in our finances? How do we find more money to be able to make stuff like this happen? That's the whole reason why this community exists. So the one thing I did not mention was the custom. So for some people, just doing the snowball or just doing the avalanche is enough. But I wanted to give an option where you could create your own structure of like, hey, I want to pay this debt off first, then this one, right? So if you click on the custom, what it's going to do is have your entire list of debts here, and it's just going to be drag and drop. So let's see for this example if I can get all three of them to be slightly different. Yes, perfect. So you can see here, when we go down to the strategy comparison, the snowball strategy, our total paid is 119, avalanche is 108, and the custom is 121. That means that they're all slightly different, which is cool. And down here, it's going to tell us the benefits or lack of benefits of the custom strategy. So this is going to say, hey, the avalanche method is actually going to save you $13,000 instead of your custom strategy. And let's see here, the snowball to the custom, it's like 2 months, right? So maybe it didn't pick up as like a genuine win, or it's basically the same thing. So that's why it didn't mention anything with the snowball. But this is just a great way to compare everything. Like you could look at the snowball, you could look at the avalanche. Then if you have this custom thing, like I know some people, we all have those one debt that is like the thorn in your side. It's like, I can deal with the other stuff, but man, this, I don't know, student loan just really pisses me off and I just want to get rid of it, right? So you can go to the custom and like, yeah, I got to pay off the student loan first. Then I want to get rid of this high interest rate here, right? And you can sort of play around with it that way and do that. So that's the payment calculator. Very cool. Payment schedule, kind of a similar setup, but it's just structured a little differently. So what we're going to be doing here is looking at the breakout of all the payments for the debts. So it's still set up in like a testing ground, so you could still add your $100. And what's going to happen, you're going to see all this stuff move here in real time, which is very exciting, right? So I'm going to be adding stuff. You see the numbers shifting, the dates shifting. So what's happening here is it's, again, just it's going to show us just in a different way of how all the payments are going to happen. So if I click on show all the months, and then I scroll down, it's going to actually show us the transition point of when that extra money gets transferred from one of the debts. So this is literally every single month. And you can see here in 2030, for example, we're paying the $200 towards this debt. We had the $100 minimum payment plus the $100 extra. Again, so Wealthway is going to show you the additional money that's being added. And then in the transition, we went from, the 200 here getting lumped now into this column. So we scroll all the way down and we'll find that transition point again. Here we go. Now this $700 is getting lumped over to this debt, right? And then that one's going to be getting paid off. So it's just a different way to look at it. And it literally shows all the line items. So this is 10 years from now. So if you just wanted to get a quick glimpse of like, hey, what's this going to look like month to month, you can click into here. And again, you can sort of test through the snowball, the avalanche, your custom, etc. You could do a summary mode or a detailed schedule. And this one gives you, so this is the student loan, for example, and you could scroll and only look at the student loan, right? You could just do that. And this will give you how much you paid, how much is going towards interest, how much is going towards principal, and then the remaining amount, okay? So each of these has that, so that's kind of cool. Just a little more detail if you wanted to look at that way. And then the progress tab here, is just kind of as it sounds. It's just kind of a summary progress. So we have each of the debts here. So again, we'll look at the credit card. We have 22%. Okay, our starting balance was $25,000. And after 1 month, you're like, wait, it only went down $41 and I made a $500 payment. Well, in this, I think this is something that we forget about a lot of times, but so much money goes to interest. So of the $950 payment that we made, $740 went to interest, $200 went to the principal, right? But it just shows, how much did we pay? How much was principal of that? What's the percentage to be paid down? This will be way cooler when you're like, 10, 20, 40, 80% across, but 0.2 looks pretty depressing, right? And then the debt-free date as well. Just another way to kind of look through all the debts. So that's the debt part. I hope you guys enjoyed that because that, again, I feel like it's just very detailed. And it kind of rolls into the budgets a little bit. So let's click on the budgets tab here. And how I've set this up here is I have 4 high-level categories: income, debt, saving and investing, expenses. So since we were just talking about that, let's go into that really quickly. How I set this up is you can't add a debt on the budget tab. You can only add or remove debts from the debt. And the reason why I did that is because I've worked, I've played around with other like budgeting apps or whatever, and they set it up, and I'm sure they did this intentionally, but you can just add things in like different areas of the budget. So you can add a debt over here, you can add it in the right column, you can blah, 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 blah. And I think it was just kind of confusing. So I just wanted to have one centralized place for debt specifically. So if you like try to add a debt here, it's going to say, please go to the debt tab. Okay. So I just wanted to show you that before we get into how this tab is going to work. So with each of these 4 sort of umbrella categories, I set it up so that we cannot change these at the moment. So I just wanted to make it as super simple as you can, but you can click on this little arrow here and it's going to open up each of the top umbrella categories. And I have, some names in here, some categories that I preset in here. If you don't need them or don't want them, you could simply click on the trash can next to it and you can just delete it. I'm not going to, but it would go away. Or if you're like, well, I like all these, but I need to add some more. So you can go next to income. You could add this plus sign and you could just add a category. So I'm going to name it test and you'll see it just popped up here, which is cool. And then you can prioritize how you want them like ranked, right? So it's like, well, salary is going to be my most thing, a lot of stuff's going to be going in there. So let's look at that. A side hustle, sure. Like, okay, test, we'll have that down here, right? So you can sort of mix and match. I'm just going to delete this here. But you can sort of mix and match and shuffle them around however you please. Now, how do you add a transaction? Well, there's this big button here, add a transaction. So I'm going to say, I don't know, $5,000. I had one paycheck in there already. I was playing around with this just before I started this video. So I'll change the date and we'll just call this paycheck 2. And then we're going to add the transaction. So when I add it, it's going to go right to the actual. So you can't click or add anything into actual. You have to add the transaction. And then from there, the transaction goes to the actual. Where you can enter information is the expected amount. So this is something that is sort of like for income, it would be like an expected. For expenses, it would be maybe your budgeted amount, right? And when we do that, this summary section is going to start getting updated. So what's going to happen here is it's taking the income that you're doing. So, right, we have total income, $10,000, expected $10,000. We haven't added any expenses into this month yet. This budgeted amount is actually for our debts. So this is our minimum payment. So it's already capturing these items. Right now it's saying we have a surplus of $10,000 because we made $10,000, but we haven't spent any money yet. Left to budget, right? So we have a $10,000 expected income minus the $950 budget, and left to spend, meaning we budgeted right now just for $950 in expenses. So we have it's saying we have $950. Anyway, all this stuff is interconnected, and once you start adding more things, it's really going to be helpful. So let's say you're like, ooh, crap, I made a mistake on my salary here. So you can go to this little transactions button, click into it, and you can see all of your transactions in here, which is great. So if you go like, oh, actually paycheck 1 was different, you can click the little edit icon here and it pops up here. You could simply edit it, right, and update transaction. Or if you're like, ooh, this one's wrong, you can click the trash can. And are you sure you want to delete? You can click delete, right? I'm not going to do that, but that's that. So I'm going to close this down. Yeah, the other debt, I kind of went over that. So the actual would be the same thing. So our budget, it's going to tell us here to update the debt budget amounts. We have to go to the November tab in debts. So basically, again, everything in debt, everything about the debts is in the debt tab. And to add an actual, let's say you're making the payment for the $500. So you go here, add transaction, $500. Great. It's going to be on today's date. And we're just going to do like November payment, whatever, right? We're going to add the transaction. Great, $500. And then it's going to tell you, how you're doing. On target, great. Now let's say you made an extra payment on your car loan. Let's say it's $600. Okay, so November payment. And you get a emoji. You get a way to go because you put down an extra $250, right? And then if you're short, obviously it's going to show you this. It's going to show you're short the $100. So let's say you don't make the payment for the student loan. That's what it's going to show you, right? So just wanted to show you those different things. I hope this little emoji gives you some motivation to get more money paying on those debts. So I'm going to close this. The saving and investing is very similar. So I'm not going to open that one up, but it's the same concepts. The expenses is a little more in depth. So inside of expenses, I have a few major categories that I've added. Now, again, on each level of these, you can simply add a new category. So I'm going to add under expenses, test again. And you can see now that this one just opened up down here. And then how this works is you can actually, again, add. So in the test category, you're like, oh, I actually, some of these are helpful for me, Chris, thank you, but I don't see one of them, in here that I just want to highlight specifically. So you could add the subcategory, and then you could add another category underneath that, test again, right? And now we have test again in here. And then it would be set up the same way where you could add the transaction, you can add a budget amount, okay? And same thing, you can sort of mix and match. You're like, okay, housing's most important, but then health and wellness, I'd like to be up here. Lifestyle and shopping, okay, great. So you could open up these and kind of check out what's in each of them. Delete some, add some. You can customize this however you want. The only thing I don't have, able to be customized is the actual like umbrella categories: income, debt, saving and investing, expenses. Okay, and just to show you how important I think financial goals are. That's why I have debt and saving and investing separate. I just think those are two important areas that we should all be looking at, right? I did want to try to make this under 20 minutes, and I'm cutting close. So only because I don't want to waste your time. So let's just go through some of the other things that we can do here. So after you're done with your month, Because what I've seen in other budgeting apps, it's actually kind of frustrating at times where, you would enter something and it goes to another month or something like that. So you can actually just, I'm in November right now. You can click on this close November and it goes right to December. There's a little lock here, right? But you can click back into it. Now you'll notice that this add transaction, I can't add a transaction. I can't add a new category. Like I can't edit anything. I can't edit anything in the transactions. Like everything's locked, which is great because now if you try to change November, you can't. You can certainly just click unlock November and now you're able to do all the stuff again, okay? So I just thought this was really helpful. It's like, nope, November's done. Let's move on and do it that way. So in the background, there's this transactions tab, and I don't have many for November. I think I have a lot in July. So this is kind of just like, think of it like a spreadsheet. If you're familiar with maybe Google Sheets or Excel, whatever. And it's just like all the information that you entered with filters. So you could look for expense items. We're going to do maintenance, repairs, and restaurants, right? And you could see here, oh, here's all the items in July for these things. So you could look at specific month. You could do year to date, last 12 months. You could do a custom date range, and you could pick, any month, the years, right? So that's just kind of I think this, I created this to just be like a quick little search, like, what happened here? Instead of going through your budget, clicking through, trying to find everything, you can just go here and sort of filter it out that way. Then we have this dashboard section here, which is just kind of a quick, like, higher level view. So we have, if it was a cash surplus or a cash deficit. So surplus meaning, you had more money. Deficit meaning you spent more money. How much income you made, what the expenses are, right? So you can see it's expenses in this case, minus the income, right? So that's the cash deficit. Here's like a expense budget. So it's going to show you, okay, you budgeted for this, you spent this, so you're $199 over. Top spending categories. This is an interactive little pie chart here, so you can see all the stuff changing. And then debt progress here, just a quick summary. It's going to show you everything there. Reports. Now that I have a few months of data in here, so it's pretty cool. You can actually see some trends. Monthly income versus expenses, right? So you could just see what's kind of happening here. Again, these are made up numbers, so hopefully your lines are a little closer than this. You could go by category, and you could look at, say, a custom range. We could do like September 1st through November or something like that, right? And it's going to change, and you're going to see all this stuff here. Again, I don't have a lot of information in each of the months, but just to give you an idea. Budget analysis. Okay, so the monthly budget versus actual spending. And then we have a debt progress section here. Again, just sort of highlighting all the stuff. So that's kind of it, guys. So if you're interested or whatever you want to find out more information, the link below this is going to get you to set up for Wealthway. And if you have any questions, feel free to DM me or reach out to me on Skool. And I'll see you around. Good luck. Hope you enjoy.